Hello, and welcome to another walking session podcast. Maz Miller here. A disclaimer that I don't do disclaimers while I'm a psychologist. This is not therapy. You know the drill. Take what resonates with you and throw the rest out. Grab your headphones, grab your shoes, and let's walk it out. Oh my goodness. All right, today I want to talk about no one having their shit together. Quick reminder. No one has their shit together. Not your boss, not the perfect mum at school pickup, not even the psychologist with a podcast. Nobody does. It's something that's been on my mind a lot. I think because I'm at the end of school holidays at the moment, which means that a lot of things haven't gone to plan. If you know, you know. I've had other things within work. There's been a bit of a stop-start there. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. But yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about the fact that no one has their shit together and that nobody's actually supposed to. So I think one thing that we do is that social comparison, right? We compare our messy life and all the behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel and this is not just a social media thing, this is just a human thing, right? Like even before social media, we would have a whole day of messiness at home. I'm trying to do this, but this is not working. Like all these things happen. Sometimes they do, by the way, and it's great when they do. But the majority of the time they don't happen. And then, you catch up with someone else and you just assume that they're not going through the same thing. And now all of a sudden, what you've got going on is not good enough, right? What you've got going on, it's flawed. It's not as good as theirs, but life is supposed to be messy, right? It's not supposed to be perfect. And the reason I talk about perfect here also is because I feel like there's something in the back of our head that's telling us that if things are perfect, then I'm safe. Like if things are perfect, nothing goes wrong. If things are perfect, I'll just be happy. But in fact, if you picture this really weird, sterilized world in which everything is perfect, be somewhat safe, but you would not be content or happy. So you're actually chasing something so silly that A, is never possible, and B, is not what you think it would be. It'd be low risk because you wouldn't put yourself out there, so there would be no growth. You wouldn't be vulnerable because you'd want to be safe, so there would be less connection. Like, it's not how we're meant to be. It's meant to fluctuate. Like you think about the seasons of Mother Nature. There's winter, there's summer, there's autumn, there's spring. All as important, as purposeful as the other. It's not supposed to be sunshine all the time because that wouldn't be good. So I feel like moving with your season, moving with your rhythms beats, even being 100% for a week or two and then dropping it to 20% because you've burnt yourself out trying to be perfect. You're way better off being consistent and just fluctuating with it. Whether it's there's just so much that happens. Again, I'm just thinking of my two kids. Like a simple drive, things can happen. One of them had a nosebleed today. Like we went to a cafe to get a coffee and donuts, and they jumped in the water with their clothes on, and then in the car, that's just life. And sometimes it's just embracing at it. And I think that the more that we embrace it as that's what it is, the better we get and the more resilient we get to dealing with those setbacks. We learn about it. You go, okay, well, they can sit in the car, they'll be all right. It's annoying, but it's fine, right? And, you're also not going to be perfectly capable of rising above things every day because even that fluctuates. Your threshold depends on your sleep, on your hormones, on your load, whether it's at work or at home. There's so many things, right? But you can do little things that work for yourself. If you can't go for a walk, focus on drinking water that day because that will help. Or if you've got 10 life admin or whatever things sitting there, doing one will help. Or if a short walk's not available because your kid's at home, stretching will help, right? So it's not about having things perfect, but having to think about what is helpful in this moment. Not, because sometimes the other thing is that I feel like sometimes when you have this vision, which we all do, and that's good. Like, it's great to aim for things. What you don't want to do is take yourself out of the game because you feel like it's so far, like it's so far out of reach, so you might be like, well, I wanted to get to the gym 5 times a week. I don't know, because that's the only way I can get because unless I do that and hit my 110 grams of protein, and then you just go, well, there's no point in exercising at all because I can't do that. But can you see how it'd be helpful to do a stretch, a walk, something at home, maybe one day at the gym, whatever works? It's still helpful. It's much less helpful to sit still and do nothing. And now to bring it back to the thing of no one has their shit together. By the way, if I've exercised once a week and I post it once a week, you probably think I'm exercising all the time because all you see is me posting that I'm exercising because I'm passionate about reminding people of moving their body and motivating them to do that. But you don't actually know often I'm doing it. You're just seeing it. That's what you're seeing. So you just assume that I'm this. I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Does that make sense? So there's this thing that we forget, and it's like that everyone's juggling a bit of an invisible load. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they've got more on than you do. You might have a kid that doesn't sleep. They might have 3 of them. There's just so many, there's so many variables. And this is why comparison is just so silly. And it's kind of like just focusing on being good enough, doing small steps, like I said, doing what's helpful, flowing with things. Like if you're a woman and you haven't matched your energy to your cycle, please do. Like just notice, like week 1 of my period out of 10, how much energy. Week 2, week 3, week 4, I find that really, really adjust things. So not so much that I sit there and I go, I don't sit there necessarily and go, on day 3 and that's what should happen. It's more so that I have my ideal, like all of you do, and then I'll go to do it and I'm like, oh geez, like I think I need another day of recovery from that workout. That's weird. Like I look at it curiously rather than with expectation. That's a bit weird. And then I'll go, oh, that's probably why, because this is what's going on. I haven't slept in 3 days, or, and then I just give myself grace and do whatever I need with that. I do whatever's helpful with that. I don't have a one way of doing with that. Some days it means doing nothing. Other days, like I said, it's a walk, it's a stretch, and other days it's going back to the gym. So whatever. And I guess the one thing that I found interesting is that I wanted to see if there's any studies to back this stuff up. And there's a study that stood out called Misery Has More Company Than People Think, Underestimating the Prevalence of Others' Negative Emotions. And essentially, in these studies, what they found is that people consistently underestimate how often our peers and people around us feel negative emotions. And then we also overestimate their positive emotions. So what that essentially means is that you look at everyone around you and you go, they never have a shit day and they're always happy. I mean, that's the extreme of this, right? But you're essentially like, they have way less shit going on than I do and they have more good stuff happening to them than I do. Not true. And the gap is driven by what's called impression management, because we do hide our lows more than our highs. So everyone ends up thinking that they're the ones missing, they're the messy ones. They're the ones having shit going on, because you're not going to tell everyone all the bad things that are happening in your life, but you're more likely to tell them the good news. So if you think about, I mentioned the mum at the pickup, how's it going? Yeah, good. Things are good. You're not going to tell them, my mum just did this, or this has just happened, and there's things that I can't even talk about that are going on. You're not going to tell her those things. They're heavy and they're with you. And then, oh, but I'm starting a new job. We just went and took the kids to blah, blah. Like, you know, they're easier. The good stuff is easier to share. But then it does create this picture of, well, they're not telling me about their bad. They're only telling me they're good. I must be the fuck up. Okay? And then if others are that way, you then start to feel lonelier, and you feel less satisfied with yourself. Like, you start to feel like it must be me, it's not them, because then nobody's sharing this. And, you know, obviously you're going to have some good mates in your life who do share the all of the things and you see the messy and the not so messy, I hope you've got that person in your life so that, you know, that comparison is just like, we're all just doing this. The reason why I was thinking about this topic and the reason why I'm raising it today in particular is because I often in my clinic would speak to clients, and one thing I used to say is I'm going to share things about my life if I think they're helpful to you. So I'm the psychologist that will say, let me demonstrate this concept to you. There was this time where I went through this. There's this, like, I'm a psychologist, but do you know there's a really good couples counsellor because me and my husband went through a rough time and we saw them. I went through this traumatic event and this person was really helpful with that. I will share those things with my clients because I feel like there's nothing like saying even quite a, and I feel like people know this, but they need to hear it more. Even a professional who's supposed to have all the tricks up their sleeve and know it all and is aware, we are still human. Like, just because a therapist is in the place of listening to you and being able to support you and help you doesn't mean that they're not dealing with their own stuff. You know, there's been plenty of times where I've had things on my mind and I've still shown up for clients and they would have no idea that it's happening. But that's because I'm trained as a professional to do that as a job. And to be fair, there is actual therapy styles where you don't disclose anything about your life. So I can see why clients would think that. But I personally found, and it could be just me in my practice, that whenever I did say, hey, there's this one time when, you know, I was dealing with this, or this change in my life meant this, that they were the most impactful. And my clients would say, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's just so nice to know that you also don't have your shit together, that you also go through things. Of course we go through the things. There's nobody that doesn't. And for me, like, I work with the clinical population, but I've also worked with high performance, like professional athletes you see on TV, like at the, you know, height of their game, they still deal with shit. They still have some of the same concerns that my clinical clients would have. That's just called life, and things happen. So what we all can be really good at, and I'm going to put a resource into our membership. There's a free membership. I'll tell a little bit about it in a minute. What you can be really good at is designing your helpful for where you're at, and just taking a little moment to think about comparing what's helpful to you. If you know that quote unquote studies out there, it's well known that eating healthy, hydrating yourself, moving your body, spending time in nature, they're all good things. If you know that, don't worry about if you can't do that all day, every day, like some people can. Don't worry about that. You know, some of the fitness influencers out there, it's their job to be fit. Okay. That's like you posting, you doing admin and expecting everyone else to do it 8 hours because you do admin all day, every day, and you get paid for it. You're like, how do you not get your admin done? Look at me doing admin all day, every day. Why are you not doing admin all day, every day? Just be really mindful of those things. I was spending a lot more time in nature when I was walking my clients because it was my job to be in nature all day. Now, I still spend time in nature, but it's definitely not as much. This allergy doesn't help, but it still do, but it's not as much. Sometimes it's sitting on my deck because I need the fresh air and I need to be outside and it's not a windy day. Like, I've still found ways. It's so important to me and I know it's helpful, so I still do it. But can you see how it's not what it was? Or movement wise, it's changed so much for me. Or whatever yours is what I'm trying to say is just stick to what is helpful. And like I said, I'm going to create a little bit of a resource so that you can build your own, almost like a roadmap to this. Yeah, like how you're going to get to the end point. And you're still allowed to look at idealized ways of. You're allowed to say, well, ideally I'd like to exercise, 5 days a week. You're allowed to do that. What you're not allowed to do is beat yourself up for not being able to do that at a drop of a hat. We don't want you doing that. What we want you to do is to start where you are and do what you can. You know, like, I'm just thinking of even like after having the girls, especially my second, getting back into exercise was just so gentle and so little and as much as I could. Sometimes it was just walking with the two of them for 300 meters. Like, you know, Then it became a 10-minute workout. I said this to someone the other day. It was like 10 to 15-minute workout that I could do my jeans. Like I had so little time and energy that I had to do something that was body weight, and I could just do it in 10 to 15 minutes because I did not have the capacity to get into my active gear. That was too hard, and I needed to be able to do it in my kitchen while they're there and I'm watching them. And there were days where I didn't even do that because even that was too much, right? Like you just start where you are and know that you won't be there forever. Okay, I'm going to put something together for this, as I do with, I don't know if you know, for every podcast episode, I create a little resource, a little bit more reflection. In the walking session crew, I'll put the link down there and you can just, download it. You can have a nice journal if you want to, but you can just write it in your notes. You can do whatever you want. I'd prefer if you use pen to paper. I'm doing lots of research into journaling itself. Like I'm just discovering all these things that I think I've said in this space before. I've done this since I was a child, and it's so interesting to see my 7-year-old journal, whether that's because she sees me journal so much or whether it's just within her. I didn't see anyone do it and I did it. And having gone through the things I've gone through in life, I'm now finding a lot of research on why journaling and writing works. I'm not going to get too carried away, but there's a particular one that basically is finding similarities between this specific way of journaling. The results are very similar to, in trauma, for example, to EMDR and CBT and all the other therapy styles. Journaling, specific way of journaling. I'm so excited about it. I'm reading all about it and trying to think of ways I can implement it in this community because I think it would be so helpful. And I feel like intrinsically, a little bit like there's a bit of a pattern here, but a little bit like with movement and nature, I knew it was helpful, but I didn't know why. And I think that's everything psychology. We know what we need to do. It's within us. But yeah, now finding all these studies as to how it actually works with our brain when we're doing it. So that's why I'm encouraging you. If you can't, it's okay. Write in your notes. But if you can have a pen and paper, sit down and journal, maybe bring it in a backpack or print it out or put it in your pocket, whatever works. Or, come home from your walk and then do it. I think it's so important, so important. So it's given me lots of motivation to continue creating the resources in this space. But yeah, maybe even building some more, who knows? Let's see where it takes us. But I do really think that movement, nature, a moment to reflect, it can change lives. So please take that moment and do something for you, one small step at a time, literally. So what I'll do is I'll leave the pre-membership details in the notes under here. Like, comment, do all those things. It helps if you rate us. I think it's maybe, I don't know, I'm not an expert on algorithms, but apparently pushes it out to more people. So please do that. If you subscribe, it does it. Anyway, let's spread the word. Let's get people moving, spending time in the outdoors and reflecting and growing. That would be a dream come true for me. All right, leaving it there. Love ya, leave ya. Chat to you next time. Peace.